Okay, good morning. While the slides are being set up, it's my honor again to be here today and to give you an overview of the technical infrastructure. As always, it comes with a disclaimer. I will try to give a complete overview, but it doesn't fit in half an hour. So I will try to give you some highlights and a bit of a peek behind the scenes of what's all been going on this year. There's lots of things that have been happening. In that sense, it's always great to come after the committee reports because indeed then I can connect to all the activities that have been going on. So over to the concrete activities. Well, first of all, and it was already reported through Menzo's report, there's a lot of assessments, reassessments going on. This year we had two reassessments of our B centers. That's the Slovenian CLARIN SI Center. It's the Meertens Institute / Humanities Cluster. Yes, and we have one new B center, that is the Urag Research CLARIN Center in Bolzano. So as you can see, I think in this chart, there's kind of a nice steady growth of the B centers. You will also see actually that there is a kind of a peak in terms of the total number of centers, and that relates to what Bente was presenting. There's lots of K centers coming up, so it's actually nice to see the number going up. For the B centers, this I think falls within the kind of expectations that we have in terms of kind of steady growth. Nothing extreme, because setting up a B center is an effort, but especially maintaining it. I mean, if you have to think about 3 yearly reassessment that you need to go through, core trust seal. Those of you who have done it know that this is not a trivial exercise. So it's logical that the number of B centers grows steadily. Relating to that, it's also good to say that because there is quite a bit of a pipeline to achieve the B center status, there are still 5 centers currently in that pipeline. Basically read that they are waiting for the outcomes of the core trust seal procedure. The fact that this sometimes is taking a long time, more than a year, more than 2 years, with the most extreme case so far was 4 years, also means that this is something that we will be trying to push a bit harder, or at least give some signals towards the organization behind the core trust seal, just to make it clear that there sometimes are a bit extreme delays in the review. So this is also something that from the perspective of the assessment committee and the technical centers committee we will be actively communicating. That said, and it was already mentioned by Menzo also, the deadline for the upcoming assessment round is 31st of October. So if you are in the mood for submitting, you still have 31 days, what is it, to get this round. If that doesn't work, there will be a spring round, obviously, as well in 26. The federated identity. This is the slide I've been waiting for I think 15 years or so. Seriously, we had this KPI of connecting all the CLARIN member countries to our service provider federation. This year we made it, so I think I'm really glad that this finally worked out. And it's thanks to the addition of both Bulgaria and our newest member, Slovakia. That basically means that everybody from academic institution in the member country should be able to access the CLARIN services which are connected to the SPF. That's really good. You can also see it actually then in the nice growth of the number of organizations that can log in. We're almost at 2,800 right now. So that's actually a good number. More or less similar statistics on the number of average logins per month via the Central Discovery Service. We're almost up to speed with a record year, 2021, which probably because of the corona dynamics at that time was a very heavy year in terms of the number of logins. But as you can see, there's a nice growth there. So yeah, this looks good. Persistent identifiers and friends, I put. I mean, there's lots of activities going on there. We have our second data site TOI user, the colleagues from the Spanish B Center that is coming up. It's being set up. There's a beta release of the digital object gateway, which you can try out yourself. And we also managed to integrate the transcription portal into the language resource switchboard. And you might ask, well, why is that relevant? Well, this is actually the last missing arrow in the diagram that I presented last year, which under the umbrella of Atrium means that you are able to take a PID to some landing page somewhere. It doesn't even need to be a CLARIN repository. It could, of course, be. Then get the PID, say, analyzed by the Digital Object Gateway, and then through the language resource switchboard, you can, for instance, send off a WAV file to be sent for transcription, so automatic speech recognition and all the relating steps to that. And this final arrow has now been connected, so we're very glad about it. Good. Then a lot of metadata-related activities. First of all, and it's been mentioned also before, the CLARIN concept registry migration. There's a bit of work that was done behind the scenes, or by many people collaborating on this. Just for the kind of historic view, when CLARIN started at its very, very beginning, during preparatory phase, there was the registry called ISOCAT. At a certain point, that one was superseded by the CLARIN concept registry. And earlier on, we already decided to move away from the CLARIN concept registry to Wikidata, which is kind of a more common platform where you can also rely on the kind of curation efforts through the Wikidata and Wikipedia community. And so we started looking into, okay, what are the possible options for mapping these old ISOCAT entries or the CLARIN concept registry entries into Wikidata. That's resulted in kind of a hackathon that we organized during the center meeting in Leiden last spring. It was 25. And to make a long story short, we managed, thanks to the help of a lot of people, to map 74% of the CCR entries that were used in practice to the Wikidata category. So that's actually quite nice. There's still about 25% remaining then, of course. In the CLARIN concept registry, those will remain available. But for the other categories, we now have found a decent mapping to Wikidata. I'll show in a second what it means in practice. But before I continue to that, I really would like to thank Liliana and Menzo, the SIMLI task force, and all the people, many of you in the room today who participated actually in this hackathon during the center meeting and did the hard work of manually mapping, verifying suggestions, suggesting other mappings, things like that. So it was really a lot of work, but it has beared some fruit, as you can see. Okay, how does it look in practice? This is a screenshot from the component registry. And as you can see here, normally we used to have here, originally the ISOCAT links, then came the handles to the CLARIN concept registry. And now you can see there's actually a link there to a Wikidata entity. In this case, it's for, I think, genre. If you then look at that specific Wikidata entry, you will indeed see you get the definition of what a genre is. You will get multilingual descriptions. If you scroll a bit further, you will even get links to the Wikipedia entries that are related to this topic, so you can read on a bit further. It's actually quite a nice system to capture this semantic information. And what is specifically nice, and I have to say this work was already done before we even made this connection, but some people, we don't know by heart, maybe that those people are in the room, have actually entered the original ISOCAT IDs for these Wikidata entries. So there is a link between the newest version of these semantic entries and the original ISOCAT data categories, as you can see here. So that's actually quite nice. How does it look at the site of the CLARIN concept registry? There's now a link that for a specific entry, some of these entries are superseded by the Wikidata link. And then there's also a link that you can click on and you will find the responding Wikidata entry. So it's actually quite nice. Okay, this might all sound like very easy exercise and it's all been done, but it was not such an easy ride. If you really want to get a bit more of the details behind that, it's more like, I could say the highway to hell. And as you can see here on the the traffic sign. Even that can be ambiguous because hell also turns out to be a place in Poland, admittedly just with one L. But it already gives a kind of link to the problems that we encountered, and that's the ambiguity. There's really a lot of these concepts that were very ambiguous. And there's hardly any way to do the kind of disambiguation fully automatically. So this was the part where the hackathon really played an important role in the successive efforts. And you could say, okay, we were on the highway to hell. Actually, it turned out maybe more to be ending with an alternative exit in the purgatory, which could then be, Vösendorf, where we are today. I'm pretty sure that, for instance, the people who were in the TCC committee yesterday also felt the vibes of the purgatory when they were finishing off the CLARIN data citation guidelines. But the good news is that thanks to all the hard work there, we now have a final version of the data citation guidelines, version 1.0, which will the next days, I'm sure, be spread more in general. Okay, going back to the slides, making a step towards the making a step from the curation towards actually the kind of practical problems that we also saw. For instance, here, this is one of the entries that we found during the hackathon. And maybe it's a kind of a good quiz question whether there's someone who knows the connection between ISOCAD entry 2503 and this person. Probably not. I'll give a hint. The description is, it describes the knowledge domain of the resource. The source is CLARIN. This is the original ISOCAD definition. Well, just to give it away, there turns out to be a DJ called DJ Topic, which was suggested during the curation efforts as a mapping for this category, of course. You can imagine this times 1,000 or 2,000 to be disambiguated. It was a lot of work. It was also a good laugh from time to time, as you can imagine. But it was not completely trivial, and I'm very glad we made the exercise. And I have to say, also as a kind of group exercise, this was really a nice outcome to see that we now have a disambiguation, and you will not see DJ Topic showing up in the component registry, for instance. Making a next step, and here I have to thank a lot our co-developer Wolfgang Sauer, who made some efforts on adding graphical additions to the link checker and the curation dashboard. Which means that you now, in kind of a glimpse of the eye, can see how the evolution of the link checker goes. And for instance, here you can see that the original slides was showing basically that, okay, there were some broken links in specific repository, and all of a sudden it got basically solved. So the broken links got into kind of okay status. Everything is the same color here, basically meaning that all the links in specific repository are all of a sudden working. We've been to hell, we've been to the purgatory. I would claim that this is basically the fair way to heaven. You know, it goes up and you end up in a repository where there's no broken links anymore. So this is really great, and you can check it out yourself in the link checker. Good, some of the other activities, and here I start plugging some posters for this afternoon's poster session. There is work being done on the tool portal, so Uytvanck has done a lot of work based on the new VLO backend with its own API. There's lots of CLARIN repositories which have already been ingested into this tool portal. There were some separate CMDI records that were unpublished, but that we also have integrated, and we will be integrating more sources, also non-CMDI sources, like for instance the tool portal from the Dutch consortium. There's more possibilities to be integrated, the Shock Open Marketplace, what have you. And if you have a tool portal yourself with some API, just let us know. We will be glad to integrate it also into this one. Should be fairly straightforward. Talk to me, Antoine or Tuan, and we will see how we can get that in. It's a prototype, as said. You can have a look at the URL that is mentioned here, but it's already working quite nicely, and it gives a good, specialized view on a specific set of resources. Good. The federated content search. Here too, a lot of work has been done. I cannot summarize this all on one slide. So go to poster 11 this afternoon by Eric. He will be able to show you around and even give you a demo of the new beta content search engine. But to name a few things, there was a release of the lexical FCS specification to search specifically in lexical entries. And there were quite a few new aggregator versions. So earlier on, we already had the kind of smaller upgrade towards the new FCS aggregator. But there's also a new beta version available with a complete redoing of the interface and the integration, for instance, of this lexical FCS search and improved statistics. Just a quick screenshot here. But as said, go and visit Eric this afternoon with the poster. You can get an idea about what's it like, and you can also give some feedback. It's always very welcome. Good. Then the backend services and reliability. This year we came to an uptime of average 99.90%. That's better than last year. Overall, it's a bit lower than the high peaks that we had in the years before. I think the main cause of this is basically, it's already here on the nice poster that Twan and ChatGPT have generated. The misbehaving web crawlers. I mean, in this era of AI bots, it's a constant struggle, and we hear that from many of the CLARIN centers of making sure that, if you have some service that is connected to the internet, keeping it available while trying to avoid that the service completely gets stressed out by crawling web bots that completely ignore any sense of politeness or reasonability. Okay, good. Meetings and outreach. There's been a lot of meetings. This is a picture from the famous Leiden Center meeting where the hackathon also took place. We've had regular meetings of the committees. There's center news blogs. And we also had our monthly technical open hours where the attendance was fluctuating a lot. But I have to say it's these kind of meetings with a high serendipity degree. So you enter there and you get to know things or people that you weren't aware about. So this is a nice way kind of emulating kind of random talk at the coffee machine or so. We were happy that we were able to facilitate that at a kind of virtual low threshold level. Good. Then another poster 23 on learning resources. There's this nice addition to the website with a learning resources catalog, as you can see here. Again, have a look at it yourself, but it's nice. It's a good starting point to search for learning resources. And thanks to Andre, Julia, Talasia, Alex, and Juliana for making this possible. And as said, I mean, this is something that will grow further. It's a nice continuation of these kind of catalogs, making them available through the website. Good. And then another set of posters, large language models. There's already a lot of talk about it, of course, not only at this conference, but especially here as well. We've seen some very nice examples also from the national consortia being made available. And one example here is this Evaristo chatbot based on Portuguese. Large language model. You can talk to Antonio at poster 29 this afternoon about it, or even have a demo, I suppose. But it's actually quite nice to see these things coming up and spontaneously from the consortia with particular focus on the languages available through the CLARIN centers. Very nice to see. Similarly, and that was what was Maria was referring to, this Clara chatbot with connection to the Greek consortium, to lots of materials being available about the CLARIN infrastructure as well. There's even a bachelor's thesis about this available by the person who was making the bot, Philippe Projac. And again, there's a link to his thesis over there, and we will be taking this on board as a kind of next step towards the future. We will see how to integrate this in resources like the website, our CLARIN help desk, the forum, these kind of things. It's a very dynamic landscape, and we're trying out some things. And we will be continuing to try out some things. Finally, I also would like to mention the Plum chatbot from the colleagues from the Polish consortia, where actually you can indeed also have some interaction, including things like translations into Polish and things like that. If you're curious about these bots, there's a link on forum.clarin.eu where you can access all of them. You can play around, being a bit more interactive than just looking at a screenshot. Good, and that brings me to our poster number 33, bringing it all a bit back to some of the activities that we're taking with regards to the European project. So first of all, it's good to mention here the LLMs for EU project, in which we are together with lots of the CLARIN centers trying to work on, I would say, more fundamental connection at the level of LLMs, relates to things like benchmarking, for instance. And I'm pretty sure that this topic will come back on the specific workshop on Thursday afternoon that a lot of you will also be attending. So I will not dive into the details there, but it's good to know that there's quite some work happening. And some other thing I would like to refer to, and that is what I think the poster is about, is our efforts, particularly under the the creation of Franziska de Jong, who is working on this task in the Oscars project on the Competence Center for the Social Sciences and Humanities, where together with Daria and CESDA, we're looking into how such a competence center could look like. And at that meeting, actually, there was some first idea of having a kind of experimental help desk that could rely on existing written materials. As said, I mean, this is a bit continuing on earlier efforts like the Clara chatbot or the help desk that I presented it here also, well, at the conference last year, and also efforts that have been made like the CLARIN book, the 1,000 pages Bible with all the information about the CLARIN infrastructure. So we thought actually it would be nice because I still have to meet the first person who has read every single page of that book and, well, maybe even more remembers what was in the book. Okay, good. I see Daria raising a hand. But also remembering what was on every single page of the 1,000-pager. And in that sense, we thought, okay, well, maybe it's a good moment to basically also feed this into a chatbot and try to see with RAG system, retrieval augmented generation, if we can basically make kind of intelligent bot that at least, or context aware bot that knows what CLARIN is and all the specific abbreviations. We've done that, and actually here you can see some first interaction with the bot on very specific CLARIN topics, like for instance the SPF, where we within this universe refer to the Service Provider Federation. That's actually also what you get when you're asking for, with a nice addition that there is some world knowledge, so that the bot also knows that in other contexts it could also be standard policy framework or even sunscreen sun protection factor. It's these kind of things that make it nice if you combine the kind of context specific know-how and the world know-how. Again, this is all very experimental. You can also use it for other things. I mean, you can have actually quite a useful interaction in terms of where to deposit resources, and then based on answers that have been given earlier on the CLARIN forum, you can get a reasonably good answer. Again, it's very experimental. You can also try it out yourself. So if you go to the CLARIN forum, forum.clarin.eu, you log in and you sign up if it's needed for the first time. You click on the bot and you can have a chat with this experimental LLM system. Again, this is nothing in comparison to the decent models from the national consortia, which I presented earlier on, but it gives an idea. It's a kind of a playground that allows us to see a bit like, okay, does this work? How useful is it to feed it with additional written information from within, say, the CLARIN book or deliverables or whatever? So yeah, this is something that we will be playing around with, and I invite you all to take a look and give us feedback, and especially also exchange ideas, because this is really a kind of experimental thing. Okay, good. So that brings me to the end of the presentation. Of course, I would like to thank a lot of people, among them the Center Assessment Committee, Menzo, Egon, Samuel, Ricardo, and Paul, the task forces, CMDI and the FCS task forces, all the contributors also from the national consortia, the whole CLARIN central developer team, and this year especially, of course, also DJ Topic for making the metadata curation even more fun. If you're curious how it sounds, you can go to the CLARIN 25 Spotify playlist, and then you can enjoy the bonus track from DJ Topic. Thank you very much. Are there any questions or remarks, ideas?
Only a remark. Thank you very much. I think the advantages in the technical infrastructure are very visible, and you presented in a perfect way, and we see continuous advantages, and this is very good because we live in a dynamic technical environment, and yeah, you cope with it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, thank you for your very nice presentation. I'm always impressed by all the things that people have achieved over the years, so my congratulations on that. Now, you mentioned this chatbot that could provide people with information. Bente mentioned best practice documents. Would it be possible technically to feed the chatbot with all the documents in the repository and just see what happens?
Yes,
I have no idea, but
I think it would be possible. So just for the record, what we have done now is we have added the CLARIN book and the FCS awesome list. That was easy to do. But in principle, it's not very hard to convert any PDF or so into some formats that the system can digest and can do something with. And I think that might actually be interesting also to see then, because that's the part where I think we need to still play a bit, to ask very specific questions that you can only know if you have read those documents. And that is, of course, also, I think, where we need to focus on to get the kind of added value, because a chatbot, I mean, it's omnipresent. So you really need to have added value and feed it with specific know-how. I think we can also rely a bit there on the efforts that were done from within the Clara chatbot in order to also let the system know about its own limitations. You have always the risk of hallucinations and things like that. And then it's important to instruct it in such a way that it's not overconfident, that it starts hallucinating some answer in case it doesn't know, but they can just say, okay, no, I don't know it. But I think it's a very good suggestion. And there were some ideas about what to feed it. The best practice guides are very good. I think the Tour de CLARIN is also an easy thing to go. If I saw Piotr's book coming out soon, that's probably also something we should feed into it. So we can play a bit around with it. I think next year also as a possibility of looking a bit at what makes sense in terms of integrating here. There were some wild ideas also in terms of integrating the whole contents of the website. We need to see technically if that's feasible or not. But in principle, we can make use of the advantage that, as said before, I mean, you don't need to read everything then, but if you ask something, you actually get an answer. And if I may connect that to actually also the efforts that were made on the help desk and on the forum, what we have seen there is it's actually a very nice interaction in terms of kind of common knowledge gathering, because the forum allows everyone to, respond to questions that are asked there. And I even found out at a certain point when I was playing around with the suggestions for, the depositing services, I found out, oh yeah, that's actually a good suggestion. I think it was for deposition of oral Swiss German or something like that. And it came up with a good suggestion when I started clicking through and finding out it was actually some post that Juliana asked at a certain point. I responded to it, but I forgot that I responded to it. But the chatbot still knew and gave her an accurate answer. So I think there's quite something to be gained from it. And especially also if you have the kind of the common knowledge gathering, if people take an effort of answering some of the questions there, it gets then into the system and it gets actually also kind of archived or indexed for future use. And I think that is really nice if we can go a bit beyond okay, someone's publishing something on a website. If we all together as a community can contribute to that, and then you don't only get an answer to that question once, but it's also kind of remembered for the future if similar questions come along. So I have to say right now, I was actually happily surprised by the quality of the answers that were given. I'm a bit skeptical. I think many people have that. If you go to a help desk or wherever, you get kind of standard nonsensical answers or things that you already know. But in this case, I think we should be able to do a better job. And I think especially also if we manage to connect to, for instance, the case center on LLMs, and we integrate all the know-how that we have within the consortia, the centers, then we should be able to do better. And it's looking promising, I think. Yeah.
To seeing it at next year's conference.
Hi, just interested to know which embedding models and chat LLMs you used. Was it closed source or open source in your?
I think the embedding models were open source. I mean, you need to look up the details, but I think it was something like Mistral based or so, if I understand it correctly. And the LLM models for the forum itself were just ChatGPT 5 at this moment. But this was just, the very easy clicking it together. So as said, I mean, this can be optimized. This can be done better. In my ideal world, we need to see, we would actually be using the APIs that are available for the open source models. And then we would connect the forum to the APIs of the open source models, maybe running at some CLARIN center or so. But again, this is very, very new from the the pipeline of development. So we will need to see a bit what we can do there. But of course, I think as CLARIN, we should favor the open models, and we should especially favor the models that are generated within the consortia, also so that we can contribute this back to the community and the LLM community. Thanks.